BlockBound just revealed the new roster for the game, and it's crazy. There's a lot to talk about today, including the 2 new characters that will be able to be played in release, new characters that has been added, and some that has been removed. This is crazy, so sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video. Before talking about it, I need to show you guys the whole roster. So this is the roster for the killers. It includes Herobrine, Mutant Skeleton, Entity 303, and others, where you are able to see some new killers like Null, Entity, and others. For the survivors, or players, we can see Jesse, Crafter, or Steve, Provisioner, Lily, and others. So first, let's talk about the 2 new characters. The 2 new characters that will now be playable on release is Mutant Skeleton for the killers and Lily for survivors. I'm going to talk about Mutant Skeleton first, then I'll talk about Lily. So, Mutant Skeleton is from an old Minecraft mod called the Mutant Creatures mod, where it is basically like a normal skeleton, but big and buff. We currently have no idea on what his stats or movesets are, but we do have a render and video of how he looks like in-game. From the picture shown on screen, he looks quite similar to the normal Mutant Skeleton. However, it looks much more detailed with the shining bow and a bag of quivers as a backpack, which is such a good detail. We could theorize on some of his movesets, however, like using different types of arrows. For example, having a moveset where he could basically add a slowness spell onto the survivors or other types. This will be very cool because imagine you are able to change the types of arrows used when chasing a survivor depending on the character they are using. This will add a different type of skill into the game and have techniques or metas. For Lily, we have a lot more information than Mutant Skeleton. So, Lily will be one of 4 playable survivors on release, where Lily actually is a concept made by the community, more specifically Blocks. Lily, or formerly known as Raya, if you guys didn't know, is referenced or inspired by Rana, a mob from really old Minecraft where she was scrapped. The conceptor and contributors of this character, Blocks, Bricky, and Mr. Possible, has also made a full moveset and stats for her. Her passive ability is called Cherished Frog. When Lily's health drops below 25%, her frog leaps forward and lashes the killer with its tongue, applying blindness for 6 seconds. Lily also gains 20% damage reduction for 8 seconds and reduces her current negative effects. Her first ability is Parasol Emergency. Lily jumps on her frog, launching herself into the air and opening her umbrella to glide down. She cannot reach areas that are inaccessible to the killer, so it is balanced. If you hold the skill, she uses the umbrella as a front shield for 4 seconds. Each blocked attack damages it, and after 4 blocks, it breaks, and the ability locks. The cooldown is 35 seconds. Her second ability is Pocket Potions. Lily searches her backpack for 4 seconds, and after that, she randomly pulls one of 3 potions which can be Speed, Invisibility, or Healing. The selected potion is stored in her item slot and can be used at any time. She can only hold 1 potion at a time. The cooldown is 25 seconds. Her third ability is Frog Observer. Lily places her frog on the ground where it patrols in a circular area. If the killer enters its range, the frog jumps and croaks loudly, alerting survivors. The killer's aura is revealed for 2 seconds to all survivors and 5 seconds to Lily. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Moreover, Anim also made alternative abilities, which I will show you now. And this includes Caring Lullaby and Temporary Shelter. This is how Lily looks like, and from the picture shown, she looks really cute, with some kind of potion in one hand and an umbrella or parasol in the other. Overall, I love the addition of these 2 characters into the release of BlockBound, as it increases the diversity of the playable characters before updates. Let me know in the comments down below on what you guys think of the addition of Mutant Skeleton and Lily. But other than that, I also want to talk to you guys about the new characters that has been added into the roster and removed. So now let's talk about the killers first, because this new roster update actually changed a lot more than people expected. We're going to go through who stayed, who got removed, and the new killers that were added, because there's actually a clear shift in direction here. First, looking at the killers that are still in the game, we have Grox, Soulless Steve, Warden, Admin, Fogman, Psycho, White Pumpkin, and Hadrian. Most of these characters are heavily inspired by Minecraft, creepypastas, or other contents. For example, Warden comes from Minecraft itself, while characters like Fogman and Soulless Steve are more tied to horror mods and YouTube contents. Admin and Hadrian are from Minecraft Story Mode. Keeping these characters shows that BlockBound is focusing more on lore-driven and recognizable horror-style figures rather than generic characters. Now moving on to the removed killers, and this is where things get really interesting. First, we have Aiden, who was confirmed to be removed in the BlockBound Discord, but we still don't have an official reason why. This makes Aiden one of the more mysterious removals, and it could just come down to the character not fitting the current direction of the game. Next is Skeleton King, and this one is a lot easier to understand. The Skeleton King is very similar to the default Minecraft skeleton, and that creates a problem. BlockBound needs to make sure its characters are unique enough to avoid any copyright issues. If they couldn't redesign it in a way that made it clearly distinct, then removing it was probably the safest option, or that because now we have Mutant Skeleton, there is no reason to add another skeleton into the game. However, we still don't know the reason why it got removed. But the biggest removal by far is King Orange and the Stick Gang. According to Zoters, they originally had early permission to include these characters, but later found out that they would need a full licensing agreement to use them in a game that makes revenue. These characters come from the animations by Alan Becker, and because they are protected intellectual property, BlockBound legally cannot include them without proper licensing. Zoters also told the community not to send any hate and showed respect to Alan Becker and his team. But it's still really disappointing since a lot of people in the community were excited for these characters. And finally, Pop Bob was also removed. Pop Bob comes from the infamous Anarchy server 2B2T and is known for being a very controversial figure in that community. Because of the amount of drama associated with that name, the developers decided it wasn't worth the risk to include him in the game. Now for the added killers, which is honestly where things get really interesting. The new additions are Entity, Null, and Circuit. These characters are heavily tied to ARG-style horror and corrupted Minecraft themes. Instead of being simple mob designs, they represent more abstract and glitchy concepts, which is really cool in my opinion because it adds such a difference in the type of characters. So overall, this update shows a really clear shift. The game is moving away from basic or risky characters and focusing more on original, lore-heavy, and horror-driven killers. They're also taking licensing and community reputation much more seriously, which explains why some fan-favorite characters had to be removed. Now moving on to the survivors, and compared to the killers, the changes here are a bit less dramatic, but there are still some really important things to talk about. First, looking at the survivors that are still in the game, we have Lucas, Ivor, 4014, Derp, and Durlord. Some of these characters come directly from existing Minecraft-related media. For example, Lucas and Ivor are from Minecraft Story Mode, so they already have an idea how it would be in-game. Keeping them makes sense because they're recognizable and already fit into the game. Then you have characters like Derp and Durlord, which are more community and internet-inspired characters. These don't come from official Minecraft content, but instead from YouTube videos, which shows that BlockBound is still keeping that mix of official-style, community-based characters and community-loved characters. Now for the removed survivors, and this one is pretty straightforward. The Stick Gang has been completely removed. This links directly back to what happened with the killers, specifically King Orange. Since the Stick Gang originates from Alan Becker's animations, they require a proper licensing agreement to be used in a monetized game. Because BlockBound doesn't have that license, they had no choice but to remove them entirely. So this wasn't a design decision, it was purely a legal one. Now moving on to the new survivors that got added, this is where things get interesting again. We have Wit, Alex, Lily, and Hex, along with one completely unknown character that the developers haven't revealed yet. Starting with Alex, this one is obvious since Alex is one of the default Minecraft characters, so it makes sense to include her as part of the roster. Then we have Wit and Lily, which are actually community-created characters. These come from within the BlockBound or wider Minecraft community, which is a really smart move by the devs because it helps involve the community directly in the game, instead of only relying on official or copyrighted characters. Hex is another interesting addition, because it or he is from Minecraft Dungeons. But to be fair, it does make sense adding him into the game because it is related to Minecraft. And finally, there's the mystery survivor, which hasn't been revealed at all yet. This is most likely a teaser for a future character, and it shows that the devs are planning even more additions beyond what we currently know. So overall, just like with the killers, the The Survivor roster shows a clear shift. They're moving away from licensed or risky characters like the Stick Gang, and focusing more on a mix of official Minecraft characters and original or community-made ones. This not only avoids legal issues, but also gives them way more creative freedom moving forward. So that is it. For today's video, there was a lot to cover today, and I'm sorry if there were some mistakes with the information. If you see some mistakes, please let me know in the comment sections, and I will be adding the correct information in the description. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and goodbye.